Good afternoon, everyone. A couple of housekeeping items here. My name is Walter, and Megan, our compliance officer at Motiva, is here with us as well. She will be reading any questions you post on the chat. We would love for you guys to participate and ask as many questions as possible. This webinar is for you, and any information that you require, please feel free to ask on the chat. If we don't have the answer immediately, we'll definitely reach out to you with it. But I can reassure you that most of them we're going to answer throughout this webinar. So I'm just going to give one more second, Megan. Say hello to everyone, please.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Megan. I'm the compliance officer here at Motiva Networks, and I hope you have a really great time in this webinar. There's a lot of education and learning, and again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or into the Q&A, and we'll go through them during the webinar.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, so let's get started. Like I said before, my name is Walter Contreras. We want to thank Preferred Mutual for the opportunity to do this webinar together. So we're gonna talk about DFS and cybersecurity regulations, our favorite topic here at Motiva. Just so you guys know, we have been serving this community for over 25 years. I myself started at an insurance agency on Ronkonkoma many years ago. And so I eventually started helping other agencies in my IT career. Motiva is the only certified DFS instructor company. What that means is that our courses, our instructions do count as continuing education credits for DFS, as well as the fact that we do understand this law quite well. So a little bit of history about DFS regulation, as you all probably heard for the last 5 years, or more. In 2017 is when the department put out this intent of the regulation and actually made it official. And pretty much since then, we have been calling agents to educate them about this law. And in 2023, just a couple of years ago, they did a major update to that law, which we'll go through it together. I feel that many of you perhaps have a lot of questions, so feel free to post them on the chat. I'll be asking Megan throughout this webinar. If there are any, we will answer them as we go. So the original intent of this law were 7 items, and I'm going to speak mostly about limited exempt companies. So there are 2 types of entities, something DFS refers to as standard, which are larger organizations. About 90% of the people we deal with are more under limited exempt. I think this is one of those things that created a ton of confusion when this came out, because many of you thought that you were completely exempt, and that is incorrect. There's only a limited exemption, and that means that due to the amount of employees, which I have a sheet here, less than 20 employees, less than $7.5 million in gross annual revenue, and less than 15 million years in total assets, is what is considered limited exempt. So most of you are going to fall under that. And if you are not, feel free to reach out to me. I can give you more information on the standard regulation, but that's essentially what it is. So as a limited exempt company, you still have to comply with 7 items of that regulation. Those 7 items is what you see here. Things like performing and having a cybersecurity program, having cybersecurity policies, risk assessments, many other things. And in 2023, DFS made an amendment to that regulation and increased it to 9 items. It also became more specific about what they wanted you to do. So I know some of these things become a little bit too confusing. So what we did here at Motiva is we basically took all of them and we came up with what we believe are the 5 top things that you should really pay attention to. And feel free to write these down or take notes on these. At the end of the webinar, I'll give you a way to reach me if you have further questions past the webinar, or if you would like a copy of this webinar, feel free to chat us, send us a chat and let us know. So the 5 top things, right? We start with a cybersecurity risk assessment. I can tell you right now that the most important thing that you should do immediately is a cybersecurity assessment. And the reason being is because about 98% of the people that we do this assessment for will are out of compliance immediately, because there are some things that there are many great IT companies, but they just simply don't understand the regulation, and therefore there are some things that are left untouched or undone. And so one of the things that we have experience in is in a lot of these audits. We've seen a tremendous amount of audits from DFS, and what we've learned is that what we think needed to be done is simply not enough in the event of an audit. So what will trigger an audit? Things like you had a breach, right? If you look at one of the items on the regulation is that you do have to let DFS know if you had a cybersecurity breach. Now, many of you won't even know that you had a breach unless something big happened, like a ransomware or an email compromise, right? But the truth is that all the systems that need to be in place could be discovered through a cybersecurity assessment. And we'll talk about that because we are actually offering some free assessments at the end of the webinar. If you want to take us up on that, we'll go through it together. Now, the biggest thing about this assessment is I actually spoke to somebody yesterday, and he said to me, I don't know if I want to know, Walter. And I said, look, very simple. I just finished an audit this week with Megan. We helped a customer go through it. And honestly, we felt so comfortable going through the audit because we had gone through an assessment. We knew what was needed. And at the end of that audit, we just sent all the information. DFS left them alone. So it's really important. And it's also a requirement on the law that you do a cybersecurity risk assessment. So I'm going to keep hitting on this quite a bit today. Okay. And please feel free to ask any questions. What is an assessment? What are the things I need to look at? What should I be asking for? You can post those questions on the chat. The second thing is compliance platform. So a lot of you guys ask me, hey, Walter, I got a guy that has these forms, or I got these forms from some insurance place, and they told me this is my compliance policies. I can tell you right now that that will not be enough for DFS audits. I'm going to show you real quick here, just briefly. What I'm showing you here is our cybersecurity and compliance portal for Motiva. This is where all of our customers will go and maintain their compliance. So an example of that will be if you're a customer of ours or something similar to this, all the policies that DFS requires, we have created them already, right? So your employees will electronically sign these policies and they're filed immediately in our system. If you have 20, 36, 5 employees, doesn't matter. Everything is in one place, right? The mandatory cyber training, it's on here. Everything is in one place. So in the event of an audit, all we do is we give them access to this to DFS, and they leave you alone because all the policies, in fact, we're the only company that DFS has looked at our policies and confirmed that they are correct and in line with their procedures. So having a compliance system in which you keep track of all of those documentation, because every year your employees have to attest to the fact that they're doing a cyber training, and they have to attest to the fact that they're in accordance with your cyber policy. So that's something that could become very complex for you as a company to keep track of. We made it super simple. It's just part of our compliance portal. I believe Megan is giving away access to this portal for free. So some of you guys want to use it. We'll tell you a little bit about what that means, how you can get access to this portal at no cost for being part of the Big I. And so we'll definitely tell you a little bit more. Yes, Megan.
Yes, I have a question here in relation to this here. I'm only 2 employees. Do I still have to do this?
Yes, their limited exempt is pretty much everybody that has a license. There are no exemptions to that rule. You can be one person, you still have to do it. Okay? You can be one, you can be 100, still has to do it. Thank you, Megan. So that's what the compliance platform is. Okay? And we'll talk a little bit about how we can get you in here if you want to get started in your compliance journey. We'll be giving away access to this portal at no cost to you. Um, the other thing, the third thing that we believe is really, really big is this multi-factor authentication. As a matter of fact, November this year is the deadline for DFS for you to have what they call enhanced multi-factor. Many of you probably got that email from DFS saying, hey, the November deadline is here for enhanced multi-factor. And that's where it becomes more technical in nature and a little bit more technically complex. But just know that an enhanced multi-factor is something that sits on a biometrical device like your phone or some of these other little devices we use at Motiva, these little keychains with a button. So these are what we call enhanced multi-factor, not just to websites, but mainly to entire system, entire computers. Okay. Uh, so what I want you to take away from this is that we want to multi-factor to the entire computer and not just to a website. Okay. Any questions, Megan?
Yes, someone is asking that they heard that there was a new requirement coming next month. Is this the MFA you're mentioning?
Yes. This is exactly what I'm mentioning. That is the November enhanced multi-factor deadline. If you haven't done anything about that, email us immediately. We'll give you that information and we'll start helping you with that. Okay. That is mandatory. And FYI, April is almost here. I know it sounds far away, but in compliance world, April is tomorrow because there's so many things that need to be done before April 15th. And so, yeah, make sure you reach out to us, please. Any questions? You don't have to buy from us. I'll be happy to answer your questions. So, any other questions on this multi-factor, Megan?
Yes, we have another one. Thank you, Walter. I have antivirus already on my computers. Is there something else besides that and the MFA?
Yes, many things. Antivirus, you know, we don't typically think about antivirus anymore. We call them endpoint security systems. And the reason being is because the old Nortons or ESETs or all those other ones out there, those systems are reactive to the problem. So they're not based on artificial intelligence. They're not really looking at systems in real time. So, and plus, an antivirus won't do all the requirements that DFS has in terms of logging, monitoring, cloud systems, all those things that DFS requires to you to have. And by the way, we only know this because of the audits. I mean, it's in the audits that they ask us for these things. So an example of that will be somebody reported a breach and DFS did an audit. By the way, by law, you have to report a breach. And when DFS did the audit, they asked the person, okay, I need to see the logs in your Microsoft Office 365 of how far the hacker went into your email system and what access did they have for personal identifiable information. And I'll make a long story short. They had to hire a forensic attorney firm to come and search for those emails. By the way, this happens to be an insurance agent of two people. So they had to hire a forensic attorney. That forensic attorney hire a third-party cybersecurity company to look at those logs. Those logs were never there because by default Microsoft doesn't have them. They don't have them. You have to have a separate tool for that. And then, long story short, he was very lucky. He had a cyber policy of $1 million, but he's almost out of it. Uh, I don't know to the extent of what DFS will do. However, they spent about $1 million just looking and paying all these attorneys and things simply because they didn't know that they needed more than just an antivirus. And those are the things that I want to educate you, not scare you, but educate you about the fact that when and if you do happen to get an audit, they're going to ask for these things. And if you don't have them, I don't know. They'll ask why under oath on April 15th every year you said that you were limited exempt, because that's what you do actually when you go on the DFS website every April 15th and you say that I'm limited exempt. Some of you think you are exempt fully, but you're swearing under oath that you basically have all these regulation items that they request. Okay. Yes, Megan.
Another question here in the Q&A panel is anyone exempt from having to comply with the MFA requirement?
It's not a single, again, I want to make this extremely clear. Everything that I'm showing you, nobody's exempt from doing. You are limited exempt, so you still have to do the 7 items and everything that I'm showing you now, but there's no exceptions to this. If they do an audit, they're going to ask you for all these things, and they should be in place. Honestly, a lot of this, Megan, I think about just doing the right thing, because you should have all of these. These protections are not complex for a company that understands IT and understands compliance. This will be the norm for example, one of our customers. These are non-negotiables in the world of cybersecurity, especially for companies that are dealing with financial and personal and business information. This is a non-negotiable. This is not complex to manage. This is something that we do every day for thousands of people. So just reach out to me. I'll be happy to guide you. The fourth one is monitoring asset management. This is something that DFS is very clear that every device, every computer, every phone, many of you had the practice of giving access to your employees on their personal devices. That's fine. However, you need to make sure that that data is protected, and that if in the event that employee loses their phone or the employee got fired, that that data is deletable or you can remove it from their phones immediately. Um, Also, that is authenticated, right? That there's a method to authenticate to those phones. So having tracking all those assets, having a system in place that does that, that's something that we do here at Motiva. We manage all the devices that information is accessed from, whether it's a laptop or computer or anything else. So making sure that you have these monitoring systems, it's everything, because like I said, I've been in these audits, and when they ask for those logs, for those notifications and things, if you don't have a monitoring system like the one we use, it's costly. By the way, we're seeing a trend on insurance companies that are selling cyber insurance, in which on their yearly forms they ask, do you have these monitoring systems? They call them MDR, Mary David Robert, or EDR, and you'll see those boxes on the forms. Many people have told us that if they check that off, meaning that they have this in place, that they're getting discounts in their insurance. I don't know if that's true, but don't shoot the messenger. That's what they tell me. So having a monitoring system is another big requirement. And lastly, who's following that proof of compliance, right? So here at Motiva, I'll go back to our compliance portal. I show you the pieces in which, your cyber training, your policies that are in place. But really what Motiva does is we spend a ton of time going through what we call our security risk assessment. That assessment allows us every year, every April 15th, we go through this process with each customer, hundreds of them. And what we do is we go through all the questions that are important to DFS. How are the systems secure? What is the password controls? And only when we have these answers, we submit them to a third party to check our homework, because we believe on other companies checking our homework too. We need to have that balance, check and balances. And then only when we have gone through all of this process and verify that you have all of these protections and monitoring, et cetera, multi-factor and everything, only then we can confidently say to DFS, hey, we are certain that this company can now be attested to the fact of compliance. Yes, Megan.
So I do have another question, Walter, but it's actually back in relation to the MFA. So maybe we'll stay here for a minute if we have any questions on the filing requirement. I know that a
Yeah,
lot of
hold
people
off on
tend
the
to have
MFA.
questions
We'll
on
get
this.
back to it at the end.
Okay.
So I want to make this clear because every April 15th, all of you guys are going on the DFS website and are saying, "Hey, some of you think you're exempt. I'm exempt." The truth is that you're saying that you're limited exempt and therefore that you're under oath saying that you've completed all the 9 items that they require. So I just want to make that clear because if you're not certain, you, you need to be certain of that before you attest to the fact that you are in compliance. Okay. If this isn't clear to you even now after this webinar, please reach out to me, and I'll be happy to explain it one step at a time. Okay. Um, you have to name a CISO, so that's a Chief Information Security Officer. That cannot be somebody just in the office that looks good or knows some computer stuff. That needs to be an expert in the field. If you don't have one, that's why companies like Motiva exist, where we can be your virtual CISO and represent you. You must report all cyber events to DFS within 72 hours. We've seen cases where people don't report these email breaches. You know, those emails that look and feel like it's you, you're just ignoring them. Well, we saw a case where somehow it got to DFS and they ordered that company. And yes, indeed, they had not reported the event, got in big trouble. So that's very important. And to the point of the antivirus question before, this is not something that your antivirus can monitor for. Your antivirus only monitors for virus, by the way, funny enough, only when it's updated and the company who's managing it is doing all the updates. So it's quite ineffective actually. Not the greatest tool for hackers in 2025. Um, Once a year, you must perform a cyber risk assessment and you have to do it every year. By the way, a risk assessment is a baseline, okay? So when we do these risk assessments, we basically do the first one. We see the deficiencies, if any. I've yet to see one that doesn't have one. And we do them. And then what we do is we have to fix the problem, whatever that deficiency is. And then we have to run another one and another one and another one until the baseline of what DFS wants is aligned with what the requirements are. And that's a really important thing to understand because there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of companies out there that are not certified that are giving you the wrong information or maybe misleading. Maybe because I would say they probably don't know themselves, but it's very important that you get the right information. Uh, Compliance is your first line of defense. You know, we sat with DFS. Megan and I have had numerous conversations at events, meetings, impromptu too as well. And one of the things that keeps coming up for me is always doing the right thing. I happen to think that everything that DFS is asking you to do here, as much as you think is a big burden, it truly isn't because the burden is after. They're trying to prevent breaches and data leaking and you being sued by maybe your customers for leaking their information. Like this is something that you have to look as one, doing the right thing, and two, should you have the right company helping you should not be that complex. Okay. So you're already paying some form of IT person to help you. You're already spending money on some of these things. So why not align it when you know everything that you require is done properly? That's always my question. So it's your first line of defense in which I continue to encourage people to, talk to us about it because it's much easier to do that than to deal with the audits are not pretty. I mean, Megan could tell you uh, they're not that many we get, but when we do, boy, that's daunting for you. It takes endless amount of hours. We had a customer last year that came in. Um, she had an audit for the year prior, So we actually didn't have to help her, but she was a customer at that point. Any previous work before us, we can't be attested to, but we actually went through the process with her because we felt so compelled, and there was so many things she needed to show DFS, that we actually ended up helping her. Megan spent endless amount of hours. I did too, and in the end, she went through it. Everything is fine now, and she's with us now. So for the future, she's fine. But you know, I'm big on preventing some of these things rather than dealing with them later. A big misconception that we get is cyber insurance. I get this all the time. Cyber insurance. Megan, was there a question about the previous slide?
I was just going to make a comment, Walter.
Oh, sure, please do.
Yeah, no, again, these audits are not pretty. And the thing I wanted to bring up for one example is there was somebody that we were assisting with an audit, that they were in the audit since March, and it is now October, and they are still in the middle of it. And it's not one of those things where um, it's just them sitting around. They have been getting constant questions and updates and everything throughout. So we're already at 7 months in, and they're still in the middle of it.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're not. I don't want you guys to be like, "Oh, Motiva is just trying to." No, these. I think we're the only company actually that has dealt with so many of these audits from customers that are coming in with audits because we're certifying they look for us, right? And we're very active in the channels and stuff. So what I'm giving you is not fear. What I'm giving you is the fact you can do so much preventive work. This isn't gonna break the bank. I can tell you right now, we get this a bulk, so our prices are very, very fair with people. And so I want you to think in those terms. That's what I want the takeaway to be from today. Many people tell me about cyber insurance. Hey, I got cyber insurance. I don't need you. The truth is that cyber insurance is great that you have it. You should always have it. Um, the thing is that I find that some insurance companies are starting to get smart with this, meaning they're starting to ask the insured, hey, you said that you had all these protections. How did you get breached? And so we're seeing claims being denied on some of these or downgraded. And so I just want you to be aware. And the other thing is your everything else that comes with that breach, right? Your reputational damage. By the way, by law, DFS wants you to send letters to everybody, letters and emails to everybody that was in your database that was breached. This particular audit that we're talking about right now, the customer has to pay for credit monitoring for people. And they also have to send a letter and an email. And at that point, you become so toxic that they may not want to do business with you. So think about the reputational damage. Think about all the other things, the spending, the amount of money we did. We had a calculator, Megan. I don't know if it's, but there was this calculator we did on how much it costs per data breach. Do you remember how much it was per record, Megan?
Uh, it was something like $5 or $10 a record because you have to do it over 2 years
That was
minimum.
just a letter, but
That was
then
just
you
a
had,
letter.
yeah, then you had the credit report, which is I think is like $20 a month per record. So just do the math. It's almost like $50 a record times the amount of records you have in your database. You could do that math any moment, and what will be cheaper than hiring a company that can take care of this for you, like us. So, and that was the case study that we did. That was a two-person agency that I was telling you about. It's daunting. That's all I can say. It's daunting, and it's better to do it at the beginning. I did show you a little bit about our platform. And Megan has an offer for you guys this time. If some of you wants to start in this journey of compliance, do me a favor and take us up on this free DFS checklist that we have. It's a complimentary compliance. The goal will be to get you in our compliance platform. It's not going to cost you anything. You can scan this QR code right now if you want to take advantage of that. You can email me. You'll see my email in a second here as well. You can email me, Megan. And the idea idea will be to go through this compliance checklist with you and then eventually get you inside of our platform that I showed you before at no cost. That will be a complimentary from being a member. And so I'm going to move to some more questions, Megan. I'll pause here for a second.
Yep, I do have two questions here, and I do also have that breach cost information I'm pasting to you. So I will look at the questions here. So this one's a two-parter back about the MFA. What apps or token-based MFA do you recommend? And is it done only through email?
No, so the goal of an enhanced multi-factor, by the way, the one we recommend is Duo, is the only one we use because it's managed by us and it's secure by us. Uh, be careful doing it on your own because if you lose that token, you can't get into even your computers. But the the point is that we recommend an app called Duo. By the way, that's made by a very big company called Cisco. You guys probably know the networking equipment, Cisco, a publicly traded company. So that's what we use. As far as biometric, I mean, it should sit on your mobile device because that's how you access your mobile device right now. And what was the other part of the question, Mac?
Is the MFA done only through email?
No. So the DFS requirement on enhanced I'm not gonna get so detailed on the enhanced multi-factor because it's a little more complex, but their requirement is that it's pushed through your biometric device. A text is not valid as per DFS. An email, anything that's text or email related could be intercepted, by the way. So you don't want that. Um, for those, you may have some employees that don't want to use their personal phones for that kind of thing. We have our dual authenticator. This is kind of like what we used to use. I still use one of these for the bank, where the token comes and you press this button. Okay. Um, Two-factor authentication to me is no different than back in the day, 10 years, 15 years ago. You had to log into the server, you put in your username and password, and the server provided that authentication back to you. It's no different today. All you really have to do is hit yes, it's me, Walter, logging in. It's really no big deal. We make it so simple for our customers. If they're in the office, it already knows you're in that office, so it's not prompting you every 2 seconds. It's a once per day, twice per day kind of thing. If you do happen to move, if you have a laptop or something like that, you're in different networks. At which point we deal with giving you secure access. Those times it will prompt you, obviously, but that's important to you because you want to know. And if you ever get one notification that you did not trigger, well, you know there's somebody else trying to log into your computer. I hope that answered that question, Megan. Next, please.
Yes. Are limited exempt companies required to have a CISO?
What's your take on that, Meg?
Yes. Because you're going to need expert help to be able to go through all of the requirements that DFS wants as a limited exempt company, right? So as Walter was
Right.
saying earlier, there really is just this unfortunate misconception rather that limited exempt means that you're exempt from the requirements altogether. That's not true. We all wish that they had used different language for that, but limited exempt companies still have compliance requirements, security implementation requirements, right? And to really do what they're asking to do, you need somebody who actually is a cybersecurity expert, somebody who understands, what sort of things are going on hacking wise in your industry, right? What they're looking for and how you do business and what you need is protections for the business and how you're operating.
Yeah, so short answer to that is absolutely. You do need an expert to help you. In our case, we happen to be certified instructors for DFS. We understand this. We've been doing this for 25 years. The last 7 of my life have been nothing but DFS compliance. We do it for insurance agencies as well as mortgage companies. Um, So I hope that answered that question very well. If not, please make sure you type something else so we can answer it. Go ahead, Megan. What's the next one, please?
So I have employees who receive business emails on their smartphones. Does this practice need to change, or do I need to provide them with a business phone for this purpose?
I mean, without knowing the entire environment, Mark, I will tell you that the practice does not need to change if the employee is okay with using their personal device for business. In fact, I'll show you real quick. So that's why we have, Mark, all of our customers will have what we call our bring your own device to work cybersecurity policy. That policy explicitly talks about, it's here somewhere, Megan. Do you know what number it is?
Nine.
Here you go, number 10. So the bring your own device policy, it's a whole long page document that we have. You can download it and view it. But essentially, when your employees sign these policies electronically, what they're saying is that all of these policies and procedures outlined for the organization, they're following, which means to you that if they're okay with using your email on their phones, that they're also okay with using an app that's going to erase that information in the event that you either fire them or they lose their phones. So the practice doesn't need to change depending on the email system. If you're using Microsoft Office 365, I highly, highly recommend using the Outlook app as the standard application, and then using something we call mobile device management software, which, by the way, will erase any business data in the event of either fire or losing the device. So a little bit of a long question, mainly because Mark is really a two-part, right? One is what the employee sign off on their employee policies and then the employee's handbook, and the other one is, from a technical standpoint, what needs to be done. And this is a big point. And thank you for asking the question, Mark, because it will always come down. I want people to take from today's conversation one very important key point, and that is that technology at some point has to meet compliance. And what that means is that if compliance is, hey, you have to have this thing in place, but your technology doesn't support that, you need to be focused on getting to that point. That's why we had those assessments, because we do a baseline of the technology in order for us to match it with the compliance. So I hope that answered the question, Mark. And if you have further questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm gonna put my information on the screen so you guys can take it. Megan, any more questions?
Yes, we had another one here come in. What mobile device management software do you recommend for phones?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, mainly because I don't know much about the environment. There are many, many tools out there. We try to stick with the Microsoft Office 365 environment, mainly because, if you're on Google or something, to get Google to be in compliance with items like DFS is really hard. You have to buy other tools, where Microsoft out of the box will have a few a few tools already, and it will be ready for compliance, especially if you're using the Microsoft Premium license or the E3 or E5 license, which we highly recommend. At that point, you can secure the devices, you can secure the hardware, the software, you can do a lot of things with that. And for us, like I mentioned before, for our customers, there are non-negotiables. Just like it should be, I'm sure, in your business when you're quoting an insured, um, about coverages and stuff. But for us, there are many non-negotiables. Some of those are what systems need to be in place, especially because we know what's required on those audits and what you will be asked for. So there's really 365. I will stick with that. Okay. What else we got, Meg?
That is it for what is currently in the Q&A box.
Okay. So again, the offer for you guys today is to take us up on this, basically this checklist which will give you access to our cyber portal. Um, so either send me an email or scan the QR code here. But take advantage of that. That will get you started in the compliance world. That will get you a cyber assessment, by the way. So we can start you off on the compliance, and then at some point we'll tell you exactly what it is that you need to do during that process. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. I hope that this was informational and that I answer all your questions. Megan, thank you very much for this. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.